All right, round one is in the books at the 2025 French Open, and the themes are already set, I think. Alcaraz might be the man to beat, but I think there might be a Djokovic storm brewing after we've seen him win and get through round one. Lots of other matches, upsets, heartbreak. We're going to break it all down here on the slice presented by Betway. There's a lot to do, so let's get into it, and we will cover most of it. Well, welcome back to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here. If it's your first time, thanks for being here, especially. And please smash the subscribe button because that helps us out. We are rounding the corner to get to 21,000. And if you haven't checked us out on social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, we've put our clips there from our podcast and they are awesome. And we've got some crazy engagement going on there right now. So check that out. I would also check out the updated outright odds to win the event on Betway. They're our presenting sponsor and they're our loyal supporter of this show. Because at the beginning of the tournament, it was big time for Alcaraz and Sinner, and no one else was really close. And I think that is going to change. Maybe not right now, but I think it's going to change in the near future because of the way things are going. And if we look at it right now, Alcaraz is still the top at plus 110. Sinner's at plus 240. But Zverev and Djokovic have moved up to 500 and 600 respectively. So I think that's interesting. We'll see how that continues, or if that continues. And we're gonna get into all these guys' first round matches. We're gonna get into the losers, the winners. But yeah, that's to set the stage. Also, shout out to Go Sport, our tennis bag sponsor for the fortnight. If you have been thinking about getting a new tennis bag, now is probably the time. Use code French Slice 10 for 10% off the best tennis bags in the game. Amazing customizability. I got my bag literally right here. I took it all the way through Europe. It's held up great, and it looks like it was customized for you. Everyone asks, what's that bag? It's black. It's sleek. Use Go Sport. Use our code French Slice 10 for 10% discount in the link below. All right, let's get into it. We had our first few upsets on the men's side. Let's start with seemed to be Hurkacz, although I don't really know if you would call that an upset to Fonseca, and Felix Auger-Aliassime losing from 2 sets to love up for the 5th time in his career, the 3rd time in the last 5 majors, I believe, for him. So painful times for Felix in that regard. And those are kind of the 2 biggest, I would say, losses. Well, and Taylor Fritz, actually. Yeah, Taylor Fritz, the 4th seed, going down as well. So we'll get into that as we look through the draws. But to touch quickly on Fonseca beating Hurkacz, I mean, Hurkacz has had a tough couple days. If you go back to Geneva, where he lost in the final to Djokovic, he was up a set and he was up a set there, and I believe he got to a tiebreak in the 2nd set and then lost that. Ended up losing to Djokovic as Djokovic pounded through to his 100th title. Now the question is, we talked about this on the podcast with JP Hovey, is he going to beat Federer's 103 titles, or is he going to go for the all-time record and beat Jimmy Connor's 109 titles? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. But yeah, Hurkacz has had a rough couple days, and I just feel like he's kind of going backwards. He's got Nicolas Massou, Dominic Thiem's old coach, in his camp now. But yeah, things are not going well. So he loses to Fonseca, who's one of easily the most popular players on tour now. He's back on clay, and Fonseca. I remember talking to the fans in Miami. Shout out if you're watching, about Fonseca, and yeah, seeing his aura live was crazy. And yeah, him beating Hurkacz is not really surprising, actually. But it speaks to how confident Fonseca should be against these top players and how tough things are going for Hurkacz. I would say things are also going tough for Felix Auger-Aliassime, as I mentioned. The question that media members love to ask, they love to try and find trends. They're like, what is Felix doing? They would ask, what is Felix doing that doesn't allow him to close out matches? Because clearly he struggled, in 3 of the last 5 majors, losing from 2 sets to love up in a match. He's done it 5 times now, which is like more than average, but still most of the time, like the vast majority of the time, he's been up 2 sets to love. He's closed it out in his career, but obviously you're going to point out these ones. And I just don't think there's always a trend to be found. I'm watching this daily with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Reporters are always asking about trends. They're trying to find trends. They're trying to like figure out the recipe to why something's going on. Felix looked like he had some type of, I heard, ankle injury or something wrong with his leg here today. He was up 2 sets to love against Arnaldi, who beat Djokovic in Rome, is an extremely good player, tough player to play. And then, once it's 2-love, okay, you're thinking, okay, I have to win one more set. Well, the other guy, if he's smart, he's thinking, I just have to win one more set. So then you win a set and that's 2-1. Well, you could have got to 2-1 by going 1-1, 2-1. But you went 2 and now 2-0, now it's 2-1. So really, once the one set is won by the other guy, it's like open season. Yeah, of course, you have another chance to close out. That guy has the momentum now and can win that 4th set, and then it's 2-all. And then who has the momentum going into the 5th? The guy who just won the last 2 sets. So it's not that crazy to lose from 2 sets to love up, although Felix would like to not be doing that, obviously. So yeah. Anyways, I give him a bit of a break. It's obviously just extremely frustrating for him, but losing that to Matteo Arnaldi and Alejandro Davidovich Fokina in these 2 first majors of the year, it's like, yeah, those are guys that could happen to because they're physical beasts and they're very good. But yeah, that's Felix. Taylor Fritz, that he's just not Taylor Fritz. Let's just be honest here. Yeah, that he's just not the guy that's ever going to do great at Roland Garros, I don't think. And he's out now, and I actually forgot who he's out to, but we'll see when we go through the draw. So Sinner, though, solid through a tough opener. He gets through, and he's, again, to me, the second most likely player to win the title, but that might be challenged now by Djokovic. This is where we get to the Djokovic storm that might be brewing. If you haven't been counting, that's 5 match wins in a row for Djokovic. Before Geneva, we were talking about, can Djokovic put wins together, like match wins together back to back? Now, for a guy who's won 24 majors, he's won 5 matches in a row. He's got some momentum coming into this. I don't think the story anymore is, can he win matches? It's, he's in a major again, and he's a big contender. So is there a Djokovic storm brewing? Can he try and do something? I know he's got a tough draw. He would have to go through, I believe, Zverev, Sinner, and then Alcaraz. Is that likely? I don't know. Include Shapovalov in the 3rd round there, actually, if they get there. But Djokovic could be brewing, so watch for him. Tsitsipas makes it through as well. Stefanos Tsitsipas. Sorry, I had a picture there to show Djokovic triumphant today. Tsitsipas through as well. Keep an eye on him because people have counted him out. I haven't done it. And Alcaraz breezes through. Alcaraz is looking fit, healthy, looks like he's absolutely the man to beat. That's Sinner. That's Alcaraz. He's had the best clay swing by far this year, and we will see how well he can continue through these rounds on the bottom half of the draw. On the women's side, we've got Iga Swiatek versus the 5th seed now, which is crazy to see. Iga Swiatek versus Raducanu in the 2nd round, which is crazy. We'll go through their updated draw as well, but I did want to touch on Canadian Victoria Mboko. If you haven't heard me talk about her on the show before, she is the truth. She is definitely the most exciting young player, teenage Canadian player that we have, and one of the most exciting WTA players in general. Unbelievable physique, strong, gamer mentality, expects a lot of herself, has a bit of an attitude. We love it. And yeah, she's made it through the 1st round. She will play Eva Lise next. But yeah, let's go to the draws. Let's start with the men's and just go from the top, because we had the 1st round's done. We are now into the 2nd round, as I said, and we've got the matchups to show you. So Sinner versus Gasquet. That's probably Gasquet's last match ever. I think he's retiring at this tournament. This is going to be a French crowd rooting for him, but he will be at the mercy of Jannik Sinner. Sinner, chicken dinner. Lehechka versus Davidovich Fokina. Rublev versus Walton then, and Jaime Munar versus Artur Fils, who is through in 4 sets over Nicholas Jerry. Demonauer Bublik, Henry Rocha versus Jakub Mensik. Jakub Mensik through. That's a good win for him. He's got to get wins. He's got to back up the Miami Open title. Still crazy. And there we go. Joao Fonseca beating Hubert Urkacz in 3 sets. Pretty straightforward. 6-2, 6-4, 6-2. To play Herbert in the second round, who came through in 5. Gael Monfils comes back from 2 sets down. The magician, the old school magician, the guy in his late 30s, comes through after being down 2 sets to love. He will play Jack Draper. So how much does he have left in the tank? We will see. But Jack Draper came through Mattia Bellucci, who's a tough out as well. Alexander Zverev answered the question, can he beat Lerner Tien? That was the question. He answered it. Straight set victory for him over Tien. 6-3, 6-3, 6-4. He'll play Jesper de Jong, who's been playing good tennis. Also came back from 2 sets down. All-Italian matchup, Caboli versus Arnaldi after Arnaldi took out Felix Auger-Aliassime. Another Canadian, though, did better in Gabriel Diallo, beating Francisco Cerundolo in straight sets. That was a big upset as well. Francisco Cerundolo plays great on the clay, and Diallo beats him in straights to play Griekspoor. Shevchenko to play Ethan Quinn, who that's a big upset as well. I missed that one somehow. I guess it was a retirement. Dimitrov unfortunately retires injured after winning the first 2 sets. That's crazy. Ethan Quinn through to the second round. Cam Norrie, also forgot about Daniil Medvedev. Cam Norrie beats Daniil Medvedev, comes through in the 5th set, and that's a big upset. I did actually see the quote. I think Daniil Med said, I might just skip the whole clay swing next year. F the clay. I understand it, man. I get it. Big win for Cam Norrie. He hasn't won a match like that in a long time. So yeah, Daniil Medvedev out in round 1 at the French. Not the biggest headline ever, but still a big upset. Wawrinka out to Fernley in 3 sets. Humbert through. Shapovalov through. Crushes Martinez. Only loses 5 games. He'll play Misalik, who's a qualifier, and then if he wins against him, he'll most likely play Djokovic, who will play Moutet next. Corentin Moutet, who will have the French support, I think, and there will probably be some, if you think about it, some animosity between the French crowd and Djokovic. I actually believe there was some today in Djokovic's match. If there's anyone who can hype up the French crowd, it's Corentin Moutet. So that's one to watch for sure. Obviously, Djokovic versus Moutet there. Lorenzo Musetti through to play Galan. Opelka through to play Navoni. Halis Kecmanovic, Emilio Nava to play Holger Rune. Francis Tiafoe through to play PCB. Here's a good American matchup. Jensen Brooksby versus Sebastian Corda. That was best bet of the day on the podcast. Juan Manuel Cerundolo, who qualified, takes out 32 seed Alex Mickelson, who does not like clay. He'll play Medjedovic. Kopriva versus Altmaier. Casper Ruud is through to play Bourges. And Tabilo through to play Poprin. Hachanov versus Offner. Martin Fucsovics versus Tommy Paul through in 4 sets against Emilio Moller from Denmark. Ben Shelton through. Hugo Gaston through. But he pulls out then, so Ben Shelton's into the 3rd round. Okay. And Tsitsipas through versus Echeverry in straight sets, which is good for him. Good start. Giovanni Impesci Pericard through to play Zoomer, and Marozan is through to play Alcaraz, who breezed through Zapieri 6-3, 6-4, 6-2. Probably was in 2nd or 3rd gear. So that's a look at the 2nd round of the men's. Let's go through the women's now. Sabalenka crushes 6-1, 6-0. Number 1 seed by a mile. She'll play Jill Teichmann. Danielle Collins is through to play Danilovic, who took out our Canadian Leylah Fernandez. Clara Tauson is through to play Rus. Kvitova loses to Golubic who will play Anisimova. Schneider versus Yastremka in 2nd round, Romero Gormaz versus Samsonova. Here we go. Victoria Mboko to play Eva Lise, who took out Peyton Stern 6-0, 6-3. That's a great matchup. Victoria Mboko, good chance there to make the third round of the French Open. Alex Yala, we covered this on the podcast as well in our Yala hour. She loses to Arango. Pavlian Chunkeva loses to Qinwen Zheng. Paolini versus Tom Lanovich. I'm not going to try that one versus Potapova. Here we go. Starodubtseva. That's a new one for me. Donna Vekic versus Bernarda Pera. Something, I forget what her first name is. Bondar versus Svitolina. Rybakina versus Jovic. I believe the young Jovic. She is, I want to say, 17 years old. That's right. That's a big time matchup for her against Rybakina. Dolhide versus Ostapenko. Balik versus Christian. Emma Raducanu, circle this one, versus Iga Swiatek. Big time matchup in the second round. Mira Andreeva versus Kruger. Garland versus Putintseva. Kastetkina versus Jean-Jean. Roos versus Bedoza, who took out Naomi Osaka. Alicia Parks versus Jacques Clement. Kalinina versus Boisson. Maria Fretch versus Vondrousova. And Pegula versus Lee. And in the bottom corner, we got Madison Keys through 6-2, 6-1. Katie Bolter through after dropping the first set, 6-1, 6-1. We got a double bagel from Azarenka over Wickmeyer to play Kenin. That's a great matchup as well. Healy Baptiste versus Hibino. And then on the very bottom, we've got Coco Gauff versus Valentova. So the big seeds through on the ladies. Most of the contenders through on the men as well. Let's take a look at, before we go here, at the schedule for tomorrow, which might be happening when you're watching this video. If you're waking up in Europe and getting this slice, Philippe Chatrier, we got Paolini versus Tomljanovic, Marozsan versus Alcaraz, Raducanu versus Swiatek, and then the night session is Emilio Nava versus Holger Rune. Interesting one there. So there's been a lot of, I guess I don't know if they know, like they schedule or the men and women ahead of time, which I don't know why they would do that, but the match of the day there probably is Raducanu versus Swiatek. But if they're selling one match for the night session, it kind of has to be a 5-set match. I mean, it just makes sense. People want to see more tennis. But yeah, any other big matches here on Sabalenka versus Teichmann, Musetti versus Gallant, Tsitsipas. That Rybakina Jovic match is a bit of a sleeper there. Mboko on court 7, first up versus Eva Lise. We'll see how she does. But there's an overview of the schedule for tomorrow. So yeah, there's my first round recap. I would say Djokovic could be brewing. We haven't seen him win 5 matches since when? The Australian Open. Definitely. And then he crashed out with injury. So can he stay fit? Is he going to be healthy? We'll have to wait and see. But this is a great sign if you're a Djokovic fan, getting match wins in a row. Daniil Medvedev out. Felix Auger-Aliassime out. Taylor Fritz out. Heartbreak at the French. You can't avoid it. It's tough. Again, this guy is going to be the man to beat, I think. But this guy could be making a case to watch out for. Novak Djokovic, never count him out. This is the slice at the French Open. Thanks for being here. Shout out to our sponsors, Betway and Go Sport. Thanks for subscribing. Don't miss our coverage daily covering this French Open here on out. We will see you next time here on the show.